All right, back to portrait drawing. So we're going to go and start with the first feature, which is direction number 4. The eyes equal one eye width apart. And then these are the starter sentences. There's a lot more to each one of these directions than what's actually just listed on here in words. So we're going to start working on the eyes. So what we do first is we're going to kind of draw this imaginary eye in the middle. This is going to help us get the correct spacing for the eyes, because your eyes equal 3 eye widths. All right, so your eyes are like one eye width apart. All right, one eye width apart. So each of these eyes are actually the same size. The actual left eye, the middle eye, and the right eye. So the eye in the middle, we'll do that first. And you just kind of have to guess. And again, drawing kind of light and sketchy. We're going to do kind of a football shape. Just little lines, little dashes coming through here. Okay, just something similar to that. Kind of little dots, little dashes through here like that. Some kind of a football shape. Okay, we're going to want to make sure it's about the same on either side of the center line. We don't want too much of it to the left or too much of it to the right. So I'm going to take the ruler. Okay, if you don't know what the measurements are, you can always just use and count the number of little dots that are there. All right. Okay, or the little lines that are there. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like every 4 lines is actually an eighth. So I'm going to make sure it's about the same on both sides. So this side isn't quite the same length. So I'm going to make this side a little shorter in here. So it's about the same length on both sides, so I don't have one side sticking out further than the other. And what you're going to do, tracing paper, going to go ahead and sketch off the eye, and we're going to see if this is about the right size for the face or too big or too small. When you trace this off, you can just do just like a regular kind of sketchy line. You don't have to do dots or dashes. So something like that. We're going to sketch it off on tracing paper, any part of the tracing paper you want. Notice I'm not matching things up with the oval that are on there. So I'm going to take this tracing, and very similar to when we did the 2 flattened out cheeks, flip it over to the left. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to have them touch each other like this. And then I'm going to look at the spacing that's out here. Okay, that spacing out there, all right, is a little bit wide. Okay, this eye is a little bit wide, so I don't have very much space out here. So I can tell that the proportion, which is the size of the eyes, all right, the proportion of the eyes, which is the size in this case, they're too big for how big I'm drawing here, because this space looks way too small. Should be a little bit wider. Okay, the eye is actually too wide. This part should be narrower. It should be about the same width as about your pinky finger, like that. So you can see it's too wide. Okay, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my original eye and I'm going to make it smaller. Now, if you did your eye over here and it's way too small and you have like enough space out here, like almost like for the side of your thumb, then you made your eyes too narrow, where I made mine too wide. Okay, so what I'm going to do for mine is I'm going to go inside of my original eye tracing right here. I'm going to make a new football shape like on the inside part. Just little dots and little dashes inside of this is what I'm doing now this time. So if your eyes look like they were too small, then you're going to make a new eye shape on the outside of your original one. So I went and made one on the inside of my original one. That way I don't make it the same size or make them even bigger. That's why I left that eye there. So we're going to make sure you leave your original eye tracing on there. So now I'm going to make sure it's the same on both sides again. So I'm going to measure, make sure I have the same amount sticking out right of center as I do left of center. Okay, so I'm going to go and make it, actually I'm going to put like a little dot there. So I'm going to do like 4/8, which is every 4 little 16th line is an eighth. Okay, so this one's right where it should be, and this side is right to here, so I have like dot to dot right there. So that side needs to be a little more out. So I have a new eye tracing inside of my original one now. Okay, I have my original one that was too large, and now I made an eye football shape that's inside of that. And I'm going to go ahead and sketch that off. So this one is going to be smaller, but still like a football shape. So now I'm going to take this, I'm going to flip it over to the left again. I'm going to have it so the eyes just barely touch each other like that. And now I've got much better spacing out here. So now I can lay the side of my pinky right between the side of the head and the edge of the eye, and now I've got good spacing in there. Before it was clear out here, now it's into here. So I'm going to go ahead and trace this off. Now if your eye is still too small or still too large, or it was too large and now it's too small, or it's too small and now it's too large, that's fine. We're just going to go ahead and go with how this one is this time. Okay. All right, so I went ahead and traced it there. I'm going to use the same tracing, and I'm going to go ahead and print off the eye over here. Okay, so they touch each other. So I want these to touch. So I'm going to have it to touch. I had them touch right here. I'm going to have them touch right here. And again, I can double check to make sure that I have about a pinky width over here. That's going to fit between the side of the head and edge of the eye. So I'm going to go ahead and trace this off over here. Like that. All right. So now I've got all three eyes the same. Okay, I've got my original one that was too large. I have the one inside of that. That was the size I was going to go with, and I printed it off here and here. So all three of these are the same size of eyes. All right, so you want to have something similar to that. It does not have to be exact. Okay, so once you get to that point, then you're going to take your eraser, and we no longer need the eyes that are in the middle. So I do not need my original eye. I do not need the eye that I'm actually going to be using. So I can go ahead and get rid of these. So this eye served its purpose, just to get the right size, right shape, the football shape, and the right size so they're not like way too big or way too small. And again, if your eyes are still look like they're a little too small or too big for this person's face, that's okay. We're just learning how this is done, just going step by step, learning how this is done. All right, so I've got two empty eye shapes on there. So you want to have something similar to that. What we're going to add next, okay, is we're actually going to go in here and we're going to reshape the eyes just a little bit. They're not going to be just the exact football shapes. And we're going to go ahead and work on the right eye on the right. So what you're going to do first is we're going to go in here and show the tear duct. So you're going to take your pencil, and we're going to kind of go in like this. And there's no really good way to describe this with words. If you want to have a little line kind of come in like this, and then down like that. So it kind of curves in and curves down with the bottom of the eye. Something similar to that. And over here on the right side, you want to bring this bottom line and kind of go up to the top of the eye like this. So you want to bring the line up like that. Then you can go in here and you can erase this little part right here, the original football shape. This little original part over here as well. Make sure you leave this part still sticking down, like right here. Make sure you still leave that part sticking down by erasing some that was in here and some that was right here. So I still have the original football shaped eye on the top and then right here on the bottom. So I still have that. And then you can go ahead and make it a little darker so it's easier to see. So I'm going to go ahead and darken this line up here so it's a little easier to see, and kind of connect these two parts right here. A little easier to see that way. Okay, so next thing, we want to draw a little curve right in here. This is your tear duct. Okay, this is the top edge of your top eyelid, right? And what we're going to add is a little line above this. If you look in the mirror, okay, you'll see you have a dark line right above your eye. Okay, this isn't your eyebrow. This is between your eye and your eyebrow. This is the back of your top eyelid. So this line right here that we already had was the front of your top eyelid, and this is the back of your top eyelid. So you can go ahead and add a line right above your eye, like that. Okay, and then all this in here, this is pretty much all the white part of your eye. We don't have the two colored circles in there yet. The white part of your eye has a name. Okay, I'd like you to write this on your paper. Okay, it is called the sclera. So it's S-C-L-E-R-A. Okay, the sclera. That's all the white part of the eye. This is the tear duct. Okay, this is the sclera. This is like the front edge of your bottom eyelid, top edge of your top eyelid, the back line for your top eyelid. So this is all like the white part of your eye. It's called the sclera. Next thing we're going to add, okay, is we need the really large circle in your eye. The really large circle in your eye, that's a color. Could be brown, could be kind of a grayish blue, grayish green. Usually if it's got gray in it, it's usually called a hazel type of color. Could be blue eyes, lots of different colors. The large circle in your eye is called your iris. It's I-R-I-S. So you can go ahead and write that down. What that is, it's just a large circle, okay, in your eye, and the circle actually goes up above, okay, your eye and like under your eyelid. Because if you look straight in the mirror, you will see that the circle is partially covered up. So when you draw a circle, again, you just want to kind of sketch a circle in. You want the circle to go above your eyelid. Okay, it can go down and touch or almost touch your bottom eyelid, but you want it to go above your top eyelid like that. Okay, something that's kind of sort of round. It does not need to be a perfect circle. It was almost like exactly the size, like of a marble shape in there, and like a compass, very round, like if you used a compass, but we're not going to use that. So something round, just try not to have it too much oval. Try to have it more round than oval. So a round shape like that, and that's going to be the colored part of your eye, which is the iris. Okay, so something similar to being round. All right, and then this part up here was the part of the circle that I went above the eye with. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and erase that out. So I just have the bottom part showing on here. Okay, this part is actually covered by the eyelid. One more thing to add, okay, the circle that's in the middle of your eye, the black circle, is called the pupil. So P-U-P-I-L. So you can go ahead and write down pupil. The black circle is the pupil. And it can be different sizes. If it's really bright, it's really small to not let in so much light. If it's really dark, it gets much larger to let in a lot more light. So something fairly round. So you can go in here and just kind of sketch in a little oval shape. If you want to color it in, that's fine because it's dark anyway. Something that's a little more round. Try not to have it too much of an oval. If you get way too much of an oval, it's going to start looking like something in the cat family, but we're drawing more of a human and not so much of a cat. So try to get it as round as you can. So something similar to that. Now, we want both eyes to be similar. Okay? We want them to be symmetrical, so they're as similar and the same as we can get them. So once we have your right eye, we're going to go ahead and use the tracing paper. Any part of it you want. It does not have to be matching up the oval each time. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to use the tracing that I used to actually print off the eye the first time. So I'm just going to go ahead and line up the tracing that I actually used to get the eye. Get it matched up on here. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and trace off the other parts. So I'm going to trace off the eyelid line. I'm going to trace off how I reshape the eye, this line right here, this line right here, and the tear duct. I'm going to trace off the pupil that I put in here as well, and I'm going to trace off the pupil. So I traced off the iris, the pupil, everything that's there. I just put it right inside the eye that I already had used. Not the one that was too big, not my original one that was right here, but the one that I ended up using right there. And what you do is you take it, flip it over to the left. Okay, you're going to line it up inside of your tracing that's already there. You already have the shape of your eye there. So carefully get it lined up inside of there. And you'll hold it firmly in place so it won't move. And then you're going to go ahead and trace off the other parts that you need. So I'm going to trace off the eyelid line. I'm going to trace off how I reshaped the eye right here. And this part over here that went up and then in for the tear duct and the tear duct line. Trace off the iris, the round part of the eye here. Trace off the pupil. And go ahead and color that in. Okay, before you take it off, kind of put your hand on the tracing paper so it stays in place and kind of pick up the corner so you can see if you have everything in the right spot. Okay, as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, looks like I want to trace off a little bit more of the bottom of the eye. So I'm going to go ahead and trace off that line so it's showing up a little bit better. All right, so once you have that in there, okay, you take this off. Okay, we're going to go in here and darken some things up so they show up better. So here is the eyelid line, and I'm going to go ahead and trace off the bottom part of the eye, how I had changed that. Okay, and kind of connect this together and show the top part of the eye, kind of darken that up. And then here's the part where it kind of came in and then out for the tear duct, and that little line I added for the tear duct. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and darken the line for the iris. I have it almost touch the bottom part of the eye, which is the edge of the bottom eyelid, and go ahead and darken up the pupil. All right, I'm going to go ahead and erase the little parts over here that I already erased on the other side. Okay, and the goal is to have something similar. We don't want to look like one eye from one person and another eye from another person, like put on the same face. Two totally opposite eyes, and those are called asymmetrical. Totally not symmetrical, not the same at all. So two eyes that are very similar to each other, don't need to be perfect. We're going for similarity. Okay, I'm going to just went ahead and darken that up. All right, so something that is similar. So that is the process for the eyes. There are other things we're going to add, like eyelashes and some different things later, but this is the main part of the eye to start with. So all right, so good job following along, and we're just going to go in slow through this whole process of drawing a human face.